Hello. We get questions about mental and emotional release timeline therapy and how it compares to traditional talk therapy. So in this brief video on mental and emotional release timeline therapy, I'm going to explain how this process works and how it compares to traditional talk therapy. In traditional talk therapy, we're focused on processing the content and the context of individual events to help clients understand what happened and to help them gain closure on these specific events. Maybe even help them learn new strategies for handling upsetting events. As you may know, sometimes this process can take months to fully complete. In timeline therapy, the big idea is that we all have internal resources to solve our own problems, and we all have a timeline that represents our past and our future. For the sake of illustration, let's say that this strain represents a timeline. This timeline is in the unconscious mind where all learning and memory is also stored. This timeline has an impression or recording of all the memories of everything that's ever happened to us in our lifetime. In MER timeline therapy, the practitioner is helping clients to access and become aware of resources through a guided visualization process. We're communicating with the unconscious mind with the goal to release negative emotions such as anger, fear, sadness, grief, and even shame. If we were to take anger as an example, and if you picture your timeline, every event that has ever happened to you and made you angry over the course of your lifetime is neurologically linked together on the timeline. So that the first time you ever felt angry, it got stored there. And the next time something similar happened, it just built onto that first instance of anger. The chemical process of getting angry or feeling any emotion is the same, no matter what age we are when we experience it. And over time, that anger just keeps building and building, so that as we age, it just doesn't take as much for us to get angry anymore. So with mental and emotional release timeline therapy, instead of focusing on the content and context of specific events, we're taking a big picture approach, and we're instead focusing on the emotions which are attached to all of the events on the timeline. There's a chemical response in the body which is neurologically linked. So if you think about the emotion of anger, and if I were to ask you to go back to an event which made you angry in the past, you could probably recall something fairly easily. And if you think about this event long enough, you could probably also access the images and the feelings of anger associated with that event. And as you go back over your life, your practitioner will elicit the very first event that ever made you angry. Like when you learned to tie your shoes for the very first time, there was a time before that where you hadn't had the experience of tying your shoes. Similarly, there's a time where you hadn't experienced anger ever before. And it's important to get that very first event in order to get to the root cause of anger or whatever emotion you happen to be working on. In this process, you'll need to trust your unconscious mind here with whatever images or sensations that come up for you as you go through this process. So going back to the timeline, after going back to the very first event, we have you visualize that event from higher up above your timeline so that you're looking down on it. And then we guide you to release the anger. Then you float down into the event to ensure that the anger is truly gone. And we bring you back forward into the future so that all the other events that are neurologically linked to the feeling of anger simply fall like dominoes. Next, we test the emotions to ensure that they're gone, that you cannot access them. You'll retain the memories and any lessons learned as a result of the experiences attached to the emotions, but you'll release the emotion itself. And now the process of releasing the emotions is automatic and happens all by itself. In fact, people often forget until after the session when they encounter an event that in the past would have caused them to get angry, and they find that it no longer holds a charge for them. It's in that moment that reinforces that the anger has truly evaporated. It's gone. One other thing to note is that the MER process is very efficient, so that the same way that anger and negative emotions were formed in an instant, they can also be released in an instant. Versus getting closure on one specific event that caused you anger, such as in traditional talk therapy, you're able to be guided back across your timeline to release residual anger from all events. We can do a similar process to eliminate limiting beliefs, such as I'm not smart enough, or I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy. The process of MER timeline therapy has many different applications, and just a few of them include eliminating anger, which manifests as road rage, self-esteem or scarcity issues, mindset issues related to money, and even shame from being emotionally or verbally abused. Now, if you would like more information on the MER process or the differences between mental and emotional release and traditional talk therapy, please reach out to me, TJ. I would love to hear from you. Visit us at betterwellnessus.com and use the contact form. I'll also add a link below. Thank you for watching. Chat soon.